All right. Maybe a few words about myself. I was in your shoes a long time ago. I graduated from ICEF master's program in 2014. So I was in the same situation like 3 years ago, choosing the master's program. And at that moment in time, my ultimate goal, I was dreaming about breaking into investment banking. So at that time, I thought like, what would be this edge, the competitive advantage that I can take from the masters to get into this industry. So I have chosen ICEF, and as you can see, this proved to be the right decision. At that point of time, that was my decision making. So I really wanted to get into the investments industry and develop there, and the ICEF was a very good choice to get there. But later, advancing through my career, I realized that ICEF gave me much more than just a good brand in your CV, which helps you to get into investment bank or any other career opportunity you would like. So here today in this presentation, I really wanted to talk with you guys to hear some questions from your side. What are your questions? What are you trying to solve for? Because I will share my experience. So for me, ICEF was the key to the career, but for many other people, they might want to learn something new. They might want to do a PhD or anything else. So I would like to help. I would like to answer as many questions as you have, but just to get more acquainted to each other, I will quickly go through what I have done in the past 10 years. So I finished bachelor's in Finance University in Moscow. It was the first faculty, all the subjects were in English, so it was like ICEF, alternative to ICEF. But of course, when I entered the ICEF program, master's program, I realized that it is not only about the English language, it's also about the subjects that we study and I would say, the competition that you have inside. Studying here is very hard, intense, and also it's motivating. It was really a challenge for me. I graduated with honors from bachelor's, but at ICEF I was not fairly not the best student at all. So I had some retakes. So this was something new in my, let's say, academic life, but still I survived. So I managed to graduate and to get into investment banking and develop my career further in investments. So quickly going through it, I did this summer analyst program. So it's like 2.5 month summer internship, which was applicable to the students of penultimate year. So this was one of the advantages of the master's program at ICEF, that it is a 2-year program. So you start your first year, you apply your CVs. From the day one, I was applying to London, to investment banks in London. And I was really surprised having an interview like in October. So I applied in August, I just have put down the ICEF, and now they called me from London and started to interview me. And I was like surprised, it was really like nervous. But at the end of the interview, I realized that the person, she was a Russian speaker. So I didn't recognize the accent because the person worked there for a long time. But she was from ICEF and she knew that, and she was asking me, how do you manage to work and to study at ICEF master's program at the same time? So she realized that I had very little sleep. So I do not, for most of you guys, I do not suggest to try to sit on both chairs. Really, while you are in the master's program, unless you already have the job of your dream, then like you might not need to study anymore. Like do your job of your dream. At that moment of time, I was looking for the job of my dream. So, and I was still working in another firm. My first position before investment banking, I was doing finance in a pharmaceutical company. So I tried to do half-time, part-time in my job, and also try to keep up with the studies at ICEF. So I was a poor student and I barely managed to pass all the exams, but I did so. So most of my friends who studied with me, those who tried to do both things, they quitted studying ultimately, or they quitted their jobs. So you still have to choose. So in spring 2013, before the internship, I quitted my old job and I continued studying at ICEF. So I had this internship during the summer, and then you have free time. You can continue your studies, and you might get an offer for the next year for the full-time position. So I continued my studies at ICEF, and then I got to investment banking full-time analyst position at Sberbank TIB. So at that time was Troika Dialog, the big investment firm in Russia, was acquired by Sberbank. So I was working there in investment banking, doing debt capital market. And later on, I moved further to the investments job. So this job is about the sell side, so-called sell side. You are an advisor in mergers and acquisitions or in debt capital market. Here, you are on the investor side. So while working in investment bank, I realized that no, I don't really want to work my whole life in investment bank. I really want to do investments. I really want to be on the buy side. So my next career goal was to work in different. This is a private investment firm in Russia. It's like $3 billion assets under management, Invest AG. And I was an investment analyst there first. Then I became an investment associate. Then I went to state-owned enterprise, Rostec, the investment division of Rostec. I worked there as an investment vice president for 1.5 years. And then I was in the point of my career where I still had these thoughts whether I should work abroad, whether I should try apply my experience in London or maybe elsewhere. So I got to Dubai. So I worked for the largest quasi-sovereign investment fund, Dubai Holding, which is the fund of the ruler of Dubai. It's kind of Sheikh Mohammed Al Maktoum. So I worked there for 2.5 years. And last year, I moved back to Moscow because of family. This year, I became a father. So I really, being in 2024, when my wife told me that we are expecting, I really thought that I want my son to be here in Moscow with his grandfathers and grandmothers. And I really want him to be in Russia. And for me, it was a really great experience to work somewhere abroad. But then I always had this idea that I really want to be closer to my family. So when you listen to me, guys, every person is different. Every person has different values. So sometimes you strive to build your career. You think that, wow, it's super cool to work in Dubai or in London or anywhere. But with life, some of your values might change. Or maybe you did not realize while working here in Moscow, I didn't realize that I value being with my family so much. So I only realized that after I spent 2 years without them. So visiting each other quite seldom. So now I work in Russian investment fund. It's the private investment firm of Alexander Klyachin, the owner of Azimut Hotels, Metropole Hotel, the real estate developer, KR Properties. So it's really interesting to be here in Moscow. I do see a lot of investment opportunities, and I really want to continue developing my career here, even though I worked in different environments. So to quickly give you some sense of, I tried to map the things that I did. I tried to map it on this career path in finance and investment. So this is not the explicit, this is not the full list what you can do in banks and investment firms. But this gives kind of an idea, kind of a map, what you can do. So I worked in investment banking. I was doing mergers and acquisitions, M&A advisory at Citi. Then I did debt capital market, it's the issuance of Eurobond in Bank AB. Then I also worked in corporate banking, so providing like big project financing to corporates. Also, I did this in Perth. But you can see that in investment banking, there are also research, sales and trading. There are many different jobs that you can do. And while I was first year student at ICEF, I didn't really, I knew that I really want to get into investment banking. This was the most interesting thing, but I still explored others because what if I cannot get there? I still need a job. I still want to do something. So I also explored other different fields. And I went to interviews, I spoke to people, and I realized, well, I'm not really a good trader. Like I'm not really so deep into technical analysis and very complex math. So, but studying here, I can say that I have friends that work in any department, in any particular field, investment banking. So speaking of the buy side, so speaking about the investors, so I did this private equity and venture capital in Invest AG, Grosstag, and now in Gleden, doing mostly like private equity and real estate investments. But also the experience in Dubai, I would compare it more to asset management, where you invest, say, billions of dollars into different asset classes. So you don't do just private equity and venture capital. You also invest into infrastructure. You might invest into hedge funds. So this is a wider exposure, I would say. And that was a very interesting experience, and I really value it. But don't forget that there are also many other roles that I didn't touch throughout my career. So I know people from this department. I worked with them, but I cannot say that I personally have deep experience, say in restructuring or maybe like in financial planning career. Do you have any questions so far? Right. So today, I really wanted to give you a topic just to highlight what I have done in Dubai Holding. So maybe next 5 minutes, we will speak mostly about asset management. So how these big firms, how these sovereign wealth funds invest their money. So this is the area of my interest. And I just want to give you kind of idea what it takes and what skills do you need to do this job. But this does not necessarily mean that this should be something of interest, especially for you. Again, you might want to do trading, might want to do many other different like research or any other jobs. So let's quickly go through this topic. So here I wanted to highlight who are the sovereign wealth funds. So you see this is mostly the almost $3.6 trillion under management, very big investments, institutions who invest sovereign money globally. So you see Russian central bank is on 17th position, like managing around $600 million. But still, these kind of investors, they think and operate very differently from a family office or from an individual investor who might own like 100 million or maybe 1 billion. It's still very different mindset when you manage trillions of dollars. And as you can notice here in this column, it is called alternatives. So we will speak about this on the next slide. But you can see that most of the investment, most of the sovereign wealth funds, they start investing and they do allocate very significant part of their portfolio in so-called alternative investments. So do you know what's alternative investments? Are you familiar? Let me quickly show it to you. So the alternative investments is something alternative to traditional investment, which is stocks, bonds, and cash. So something which is very liquid, very easy to access. The sovereign wealth funds start investing more into private investments, I would say. So into real assets, which can be infrastructure, real estate, into private equity, venture capital, into private credit, hedge funds. So trying to diversify from this traditional portfolio into something more diversified and better performing. So this is basically called the idea of your final allocation, like how much capital do you want to allocate in different buckets. It's called the strategic asset allocation. So that's what I did when I came to Dubai Holding. I came at the right place at the right time. They were in the position where they had to decide how do we reinvest our profits from the hotels, from the offices. So you can imagine the ruler of Dubai owns most of the real estate, most of the land plots in Dubai, and it generates lots of income. So how do we diversify when, for example, COVID happened? Nobody went to Dubai, like all the airlines, all the flights were blocked, and hotels were not generating income. So they thought, maybe we should diversify. We should invest into other regions so that when some crisis happens or some unexpected thing happens to our real estate, we have other sources of income, we have other streams of income. So sovereign wealth funds do this only for diversification, mostly for diversification. In the case of Dubai Holding, when I did this strategy, the returns that they get from the real estate in Dubai, they are very good. They are better than normal. So this was not mostly about the looking for some investments that will generate even better returns, but rather diversifying and having some less volatility with the same amount of return. So if we look at this chart, at this curve, on this axis we have the expected returns. So the higher we go, the better the returns. But as you learn from economics, and you might know, like the higher risk you take, the higher return you expect. So with the traditional investments, you move along the curve. You can play with allocation. Maybe I put more bonds into my portfolio, so I have less risk. Then I move along the line, and I get less expected return. Maybe I will have riskier portfolio with more stocks, but then and less bonds. But then I have high risk. My portfolio becomes very volatile. So including alternative investments into your portfolio helps you to get above the curve, helps you to get to the new frontier. So which is you can have high returns with the same amount of risk. Or maybe like in Dubai Holdings case, you might have same return, but with much less risk. Okay, so diversification is the only free lunch in investing. So that's really the rule that most of the investors and sovereign wealth funds follow. So we like diversification. We like diversification within the asset class, between the asset classes, and we go broader as much as we can. So what kind of returns do sovereign wealth funds get? So here is like a 10-year example from 13 till 2022. So you can see that the largest firms, the largest sovereign wealth funds, their average return was around 8 to 9%. So it's not something that you can see on your, I don't know, promotion or maybe ads. You can get like 30% or 50% return in a year. These guys invest trillions. They look for stable, predictable returns over long term. So the best performer at that period was 12.1% of New Zealand sovereign wealth fund. So investors, they really seek not for extra high returns, but rather, I would say, less volatility and more stability. And think of it as, compare this to GDP growth, compare this to global GDP growth. So if your investments bring you higher returns than the global GDP, so maybe you outpace the global growth then. So this makes sense and helps sovereign investors get bigger and bigger. So last but not least for this topic, again, I wanted to quickly highlight you. This is the slide I did for Dubai Holding when we approved the strategy, the strategic asset allocation. So we put together all different asset classes, and basically there are three big buckets. So you have real assets, as I said, this is the real estate and infrastructure. You have the alternative investment. So alternative investments is everything from private equity, private credit, hedge funds, gold, and even digital assets. Digital assets are becoming more and more popular. So Dubai Holding is a very conservative investor. So we did exclude digital assets from our strategy just because of extreme volatility in this market. But I assume that over the next 5-10 years, this might change. So many investors change their minds and they start investing into digital assets more and more. I'm talking about not only cryptocurrencies, but other ways of investing into blockchain and the related technology. And of course, last but not least, the traditional investments, they are still part of the balanced portfolio. You have higher liquidity, you can sell your stocks that are traded on the market like every day. With alternative investments, most of them are private investments. So you invest into real estate and you cannot sell real estate just in one day. It takes time, it takes due diligence, it takes the process. So if this topic was interesting to you, I personally highly recommend reading this book called How to Invest by David Rubenstein. So you might have seen him on Bloomberg TV. He is the co-founder of the Carlyle, one of the biggest American private equity firms, and he's also a journalist. So I really liked this book. This is basically the summary of his interviews with the best performers, with the best managers in each of the asset classes. So I really suggest if you open this book, just start with the asset classes that you like. For example, if you want to learn more about private equity, go to the chapter of private equity, and there is an interview with Thoma Bravo founder, Orlando Bravo. I really liked his interview and his insights. And this will give you kind of a broad picture what's happening in each asset class. And besides that, the people that he interviewed really have the global mindset. And like reading through these interviews, you might get some good knowledge and you will get some understanding about the global view on investment. So highly recommend it to go through this book. And here, finally, we get to the hard skill. So as I have highlighted the field where I have worked, so private equity, venture capital, and even in asset management, you still do need to work in Excel. So in my profession, in my job, like doing financial models is something that is very necessary. So this helped me to advance in my career in Moscow, in Dubai, so wherever you go, you still have something that is your competitive advantage. So for those of you who are interested in corporate finance, valuation, private equity, investment banking, I highly recommend joining this course. It starts in January. So every year, like since I came back, This January, I ran it for the first year masters. So if you are lucky and successful in entering ICEF program, think of this course if you wish to improve your modeling skills, because this is something that my colleagues from ICEF asked me, like they really need, students really ask for some good course on modeling and understanding how the investments work. So happy to see you there, and I really hope that this knowledge that you get from ICEF can be applicable. You can use this knowledge, like real practical knowledge, so you can use it on your job. So the goal, for me, the main goal of this course was to make it as practical as possible, so you can start working from day one and you know what to do. So this is just a snapshot what the financial model can look like, and you will build these models on my course if you come. I wanted to finish my presentation with this slide. So some career paths at after ICEF. So today I highlighted only a small portion of it. It's finance and investment, and very popular jobs in finance and investments are investment banking and private equity and venture capital. But this is not the only one. You remember the slide that I've shown. You can do sales and trading, you can do research, you can do so many other things. So here I provide some like examples of employers, what it was like some time ago in Moscow, these investment banks were working. And now like there are also Russian investment banks are doing transactions. So if you're still interested in this job, here are the potential employers for you, and here is why many people choose it. But to be honest with you, when I was first year master's student, I just finished my investment banking internship, and I also explored other jobs as well. I tried myself in consulting. I went through interviews with big 3 firms. So this helped me to understand that I can do it. I can still do the job, but maybe this is not that it is something that is inspiring me. So please explore as many things as you can to find something that makes you passionate about. So I'm very passionate about finance and investment. I like to learn about it. I like to share my knowledge as well. So please consider other things as well. So many students at ICEF are doing now business analysts, so like working with data more. And we live in a different time. So 10 years ago and now is a very different employment environment. Please do what you feel passionate about, and you will succeed there and you will get to success. That's my key take on it. So I'm happy to answer your questions if you have